Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with Lenny and Maria. This is a Lenny and Maria deep dive podcast show.
That's right.
And today we are diving deep into the world of R-Lipoic acid, or RLA, as it's commonly known.
Yeah, it's everywhere these days.
It's like the hot new supplement,
Yeah.
right? You see it touted as this like miracle cure for weight loss and overall health and energy and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we came across this really interesting article that's kind of like challenging some of the common assumptions about RLA,
Okay.
especially when it comes to like where it comes from and how effective it really is.
Interesting.
So get ready to have your minds blown.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so the article kind of starts off by making this big distinction between like natural RLA, the kind you find in food, and then synthetic RLA, which is what you typically find in those supplements.
Okay.
So what's the deal with that? Like, what's the difference there?
Well, the article claims that most RLA supplements are actually made from octanoic acid and cysteine. And these ingredients go through this like pretty extensive processing to try and create something that resembles RLA, but it's not actually the same as what you would naturally find in food.
So it's kind of like the difference between a home-cooked meal and like a processed food.
Yeah.
You might get some of the same nutrients, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the quality is just not there.
Right. And the article is saying that this difference really matters when it comes to how our bodies can actually use the RLA.
That's right.
They're arguing that this synthetic RLA might not be as readily absorbed and utilized.
And they even go so far as to say that it could potentially even be harmful because our bodies have to work so hard to convert it into a usable form.
Wow. That's a pretty big deal,
Yes.
You think you're getting this health boost, but your body might not even know what to do with it.
It really highlights the importance of, being discerning about what we put into our bodies and where it's coming from.
Absolutely. And that leads perfectly into the article's next big point, which is
Yeah.
bioavailability. And, bioavailability is basically how much of a nutrient actually gets absorbed and used by our body.
Yeah, it's not just what you swallow, right?
Right.
It's what your body can actually access and utilize.
Exactly. And the article argues that RLA from animal products, especially organ meats like liver, is way more bioavailable than other sources.
Yeah, your body can easily absorb and use it.
So steak and liver are better sources of RLA than a salad, for example.
That's what the article is suggesting, yeah.
Wow. So that really challenges the idea that we can just pop a pill
Yeah.
and expect the same benefits as getting nutrients from whole foods.
Yeah, it's not a quick fix.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting for me because we all know RLA is often touted as this weight loss miracle.
Yeah.
Does the article address that at all?
It does, and it takes a really nuanced approach. They acknowledge the claims that RLA can boost metabolism, improve insulin sensitivity, and all that.
Right.
But they argue that these benefits are really only most relevant if you already have an RLA deficiency.
So it's not this magic bullet for everyone.
Not exactly. The article suggests that these benefits are most noticeable in people whose diets are very high in carbs and very low in animal products.
So like the standard Western diet.
Yeah, pretty much.
That makes sense because it's like trying to fill a leaky bucket without fixing the leak first.
Right.
You can keep pouring more water in, but it's not going to solve the problem.
Exactly. And that's essentially what the article is saying. It's saying that fixing the diet itself, cutting back on those carbs and increasing your intake of animal-based foods would be far more effective than just relying on RLA supplements.
So it's not about masking the symptoms, but addressing the root cause.
Exactly. Get to the root of it.
Okay, so and speaking of getting to the root of things, the article makes a pretty bold statement about what a truly balanced approach to health should look like, at least when it comes to RLA.
Yeah.
So what's the secret formula?
It's not really a secret, but it might surprise some people. They suggest that simply adding RLA to a poor diet won't magically fix anything. You have to focus on eating a balanced diet that's rich in animal-based foods, specifically things like organ meats and egg yolks,
Okay.
because these foods are packed with naturally bioavailable nutrients, including RLA.
So ditch the processed junk and embrace the steak and eggs.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they're advocating for. They believe that's the most sustainable way to get the RLA your body needs.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
This has been incredibly eye-opening already. I mean, we've learned that the source of RLA matters a lot. Bioavailability is key, and dietary changes might be a more sustainable solution for overall health than just popping a supplement.
Exactly. We're starting to see a pattern here.
We are, and we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover about RLA and its role in our bodies. But We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment to continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of RLA, so stay with us.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive on RLA.
All right, so we've uncovered some pretty interesting stuff already about this supplement, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about the differences between the natural RLA and synthetic RLA and
Right, and how bioavailability is so important. And like how what we eat can actually affect whether or not we're even getting enough of it.
right.
It's not as simple as just popping a pill.
Way more nuanced, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Like what other like fascinating insights did this article have about RLA?
Well, it kind of goes deeper into the weight loss claims and specifically focusing on insulin sensitivity and how it affects fat storage.
Okay.
And so you probably already know this, but insulin sensitivity is like how well your cells respond to insulin, which is the hormone responsible for moving glucose from your blood into your cells for energy.
Yeah, and when your cells are sensitive to insulin, they can efficiently take up that glucose,
Right.
which helps to keep your blood sugar stable and prevent like excess fat from being stored.
Exactly. But when someone has poor insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance, their cells don't respond as well to insulin. So then you have this buildup of glucose in the bloodstream, and that leads to elevated blood sugar and increased fat storage.
Got it. So how does RLA even fit into all of this?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. The article basically argues that the supposed benefits of RLA on insulin sensitivity are mostly relevant for people who are eating a lot of carbs and not very many animal products.
So like the typical Western diet again.
Exactly. And so they're saying if your diet's already kind of causing problems with your insulin sensitivity, then RLA might help a little bit, but it's not going to be a cure-all.
Right. So the article actually takes it a step further. They describe this insulin resistance as a defense mechanism of damaged cells.
Yeah.
So damaged cells, what do they even mean by that?
Well, what they're saying is these cells, they can't effectively use and store glucose because they've been damaged by things like a diet high in carbs and low in essential nutrients.
Okay.
So they become resistant to insulin as a way to protect themselves from further damage.
So it's like these cells are putting up a stop sign being like, no more sugar, we can't handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And then it gets even more interesting. The article suggests that adding RLA to the mix while still eating a ton of carbs could actually accelerate the development of diabetes.
Wait, what? Really? Why would that happen? I thought it was supposed to like help with insulin sensitivity.
Yeah, so here's the catch. If you're still like overloading your system with all these carbohydrates taking, RLA might actually force those remaining healthy cells to take on even more glucose, which could potentially overwhelm them and speed up the damage process.
Wow. So it's almost like counterproductive then.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the article really emphasizes that you have to address the root cause of the problem, which is the diet. You can't just mask the symptoms with supplements.
That makes a lot of sense. Like building a house on a shaky foundation. You can't just keep adding floors and expect it to be stable. You need to fix the foundation first.
Right. And in this case, the foundation is a diet that aligns with our biology. You know, as humans, we evolved to thrive on animal-based foods. Our bodies are actually designed to produce their own glucose as needed. And when we bombard our systems with all this excess carbs, it kind of disrupts that delicate balance and can actually damage our tissues.
So we're basically throwing a wrench into our body's natural system by eating a diet that's like totally out of sync with how we're designed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
And the article suggests that just cutting back on those carbs and focusing on those animal-based foods can have a much bigger impact on our metabolism and overall health than just relying on supplements to fix the problems.
So actually, we're really like digging deep into the science here.
Yeah.
You know, going beyond just these catchy slogans and like oversimplified explanations.
It's empowering to realize that we actually have more control over our health than we think.
I agree. So what else did the article say about RLA?
Well, next it talks about the relationship between RLA and oxidative stress and fat storage.
Okay, oxidative stress. You know, I'm always up for learning something new. What is oxidative stress and like why should we even care about it?
Yeah. Think of it this way. It's like rust forming on a car.
Okay.
That's basically oxidative stress happening in your cells, and it can lead to all sorts of problems. It's essentially when there's an imbalance in your body with too many harmful molecules called free radicals and not enough antioxidants to fight them off.
So it's like a battle going on inside our cells,
Yeah.
and we need enough of the good guys, the antioxidants, to win.
Exactly, and our diet plays a huge role in this battle.
Okay, how so?
Well, the article points out that oxidative stress often results from the free radicals that are produced when we metabolize glucose from carbohydrates, when we break down those inorganic unsaturated fats from plants, and also when we're exposed to various toxins in our environment.
So eating carbs and certain fats can contribute to cellular damage.
That's what they're arguing, and it goes even deeper. They suggest that these dietary choices, along with exposure to things like heavy metals and pesticides, they all increase the toxic load in our bodies, which fuels even more oxidative stress.
So everything we put into our bodies is interconnected.
Exactly.
Okay, so where does RLA even fit into all of this?
Well, RLA is actually a powerful antioxidant.
Oh.
Remember those good guys that are fighting off the free radicals?
Uh-huh.
That's RLA. It's part of your body's natural defense system against oxidative stress.
So if we just take a bunch of RLA supplements, will that make us, like, invincible to oxidative stress?
Well, it would be nice, but the article cautions against thinking that more is always better.
Right.
They remind us that our bodies have limits on how much of any nutrient they can actually use.
So balance, again, is key.
Exactly. The article emphasizes that the real focus should be on getting enough RLA from our diet in the first place. And again, that mainly comes from those animal-based foods we've been talking about.
It always comes back to the diet.
It
The article's really hammering home this point that we need to address the root causes instead of just trying to, like, cover things up with supplements.
Yeah, it's about building that solid foundation by giving your body what it needs to thrive.
I love that this has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've learned so much about RLA.
Me too.
We've gone from its sources to its bioavailability, to its role in metabolism, insulin sensitivity, oxidative stress. I mean, it's a lot more complex than those supplement ads make it seem.
Absolutely. It's been fascinating to explore the science behind the claims, and it's a reminder that true health comes from understanding our bodies and making choices that support them.
I agree with that. Okay, so we've been talking about this idea that oxidative stress can, like, really wreak havoc on our cells. And we've talked about how RLA is this, like, powerful antioxidant. But
Right.
does that mean that just, like, popping an RLA supplement will, like, make us invincible to oxidative stress?
I wish, but no, not quite. The article cautions against that kind of thinking.
Okay.
They remind us that, our bodies have a limit on how much of any nutrient they can actually use.
So that kind of comes back to the idea of balance again.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't just overload ourselves with something and expect it to magically fix everything.
Right, and they really emphasize that the focus should be on getting enough RLA from our diet in the first place.
Okay, which again brings us back to those animal-based foods.
Yep, like organ meats and egg yolks. Those are your best bet.
Okay, so it seems like the article is really hammering home this point, that we need to address the root causes of health issues rather than trying to cover them up with supplements.
That's a great way to put it. It's about creating a solid foundation for health.
I love that analogy. So what do you think is the biggest takeaway from all of this?
Well, for me, it's that RLA is a lot more complex than those supplement ads make it seem.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just some magic bullet you can take to lose weight or improve your health.
Right. It's about understanding how it works in the body,
Hmm.
how it interacts with our diet, and really focusing on those food sources.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to health.
I agree with that. So for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
we encourage you to take all this information and think critically about your own diet.
Yeah. Ask yourself, are you getting enough RLA from the foods you're eating?
And if not, maybe it's time to start incorporating some more of those organ meats and egg yolks into your meals.
And remember, focusing on whole nutrient-dense foods is always a good strategy for optimal health.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've learned so much about RLA today.
Me too. It's been a fascinating journey exploring the science and all the nuances.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just a catchy slogan on a supplement bottle.
Right.
So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of RLA.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving for a healthier, more vibrant you.
Cheers to that, Want.